Hello everyone, this is Lexicon Architect, and for today's commander, we're going to be looking at one of the most fun commanders I ever built for my channel in Linden the Steadfast Queen. 3-mana human noble with vigilance that says whenever a white creature you control attacks, you gain 1 life. So let's get into the mana value. So we have a really good 1-drop in Sarah's Ascendant that if we do play it turn 1, it's going to come in as a 6/6 with flying and lifelink, which can put extreme amount of pressure on our opponents because gaining 6 life on turn 2 is ridiculous, and 6 damage in the air is pretty much undealable with unless they play a creature with mana value 1 that has flying, but most of the time that's not going to happen. Then we also have land tax to ensure we get our land drops if our opponent has more lands than us during our upkeep. And then we have cards like Soul Warden and Soul's Attendant to gain life whenever another creature enters the battlefield. And then finally we have Speaker of the Heaven that can create us a 4/4 angel at sorcery speed if we have 7 or more starting life than our life total. For mana value 2, we have cards like Ajani's Pridemate that's going to get pumped every time we gain life. Then we have cards like Dawn of a New Age that will draw us cards at the beginning of our end step. It's going to enter with hope counters for each creature we control, and then when there's no more counters left on this, we're going to gain 4 life. Then we have removal like Faithful Absence, and then we have cards like Griffin Airy that's going to generate us a 2/2 at the beginning of our end step if we gain 3 or more life. And then we have cards like Knight of the White Orchid to make sure we get our land drops, and then Switcher Priest to drain our opponents. And lastly, Voice of the Blessed to get pumped up. And if it does have 10 or more counters on it, it has Indestructible, Flying, and Vigilance. For mana value 3, we have creatures like Angel Vitality that gets +2/+2 as long as you have 25 more life. And if you would gain life, we gain that much life +1 instead. Then we have cards like Flawless Maneuver to protect our board and Ghostly Prison to tax our opponents. Then we have cards like Call of the Coppercoats to allow us to generate a bunch of human soldiers based on the number of creatures our opponents control and how many times we kick this spell. Then we have cards like Righteous Valkyrie that says whenever another angel or cleric enters the battlefield under our control, we gain life equal to that creature's toughness. But we're looking more so for the second ability that says as long as you have 7 or more than your starting life total, creatures you control get +2/+2. Then we have draw spells like Cut a Deal and Secret Rendezvous that's going to draw us cards. And then we have a couple more card draw in the Gaffer that will draw us a card at the beginning of each end step if we gain 3 or more life. And Task is Welcome. Whenever a creature with mana value 3 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. And then this ability only triggers once per turn. And then we have a cool card in Monologue Tax that says whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, we create a treasure. At mana value 4, we're going to be looking at Nyxed Lotus, which is going to allow us to give us white mana based on our devotion to white. Then we have Protection in Clever Concealment, which can phase out non-land permanents we control. It also has Convoke. Then we have Wrath of God for massive board removal. And then we have cards like Cigar to Splendor that will draw us a card at the beginning of our upkeep if our life total is greater than or equal to the last noted life total for Cigar to Splendor. And whenever you cast a white spell, you get to gain a life. And then lastly, let's talk about Oldric Luminarch Marshal. It's going to give, at the beginning of each combat, creatures control gain first strike until the end of the turn if a creature control has first strike. And the same applies for this checklist. At mana value 5, we're going to be running Defiler, Fumigate for removal, and Rabble Rousing to generate a bunch of token. Mana value 6, we have Caged Sun, which is going to double up on our white mana and give creatures we control the chosen color +1/+1. And then we have Valkyrie Harbinger that says at the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 or more life this turn, you create a 4/4 angel creature token with flying and vigilance. And then at mana value 7, we have Mass Calcified that destroys all non-white creatures. So it's a one-sided board wipe. And if our opponents aren't playing white for whatever reason, they're going to have their whole all their creatures destroyed. And then at mana value 8, we have Moonshaker Cavalry, which is basically Craterhoof but in white. That says whenever it enters the battlefield, creatures control gain flying and get XX until the end of the turn, where X is the number of creatures control. And lastly, we have another mass removal in Vanquish the Horde. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, then destroy all creatures. And then for lands, we have Castle Ardenvale to create tokens, Minas Tirith to draw cards, and Windbreast Height to hide away for. So this deck is going to cost you $247. I hope you enjoyed this deck tech and have a great day.